This is JMD Mateus, and you're listening to Into the Night, a Moon Knight podcast.
Yes, welcome back, loony listeners. You are listening to Into the Night, a Moon Knight podcast. This is episode 121, and you are with one of the High Priests of Khonshu Rey, with you for a bit of a Rey ramble tonight. I am solo, but welcome. There's plenty to get through. A little bit of a change in the programming. Look, Khonshu's SCEPTRE really has stuffed up our phases of the moon, so things have gone a bit haywire. We did have an Avatars of Vengeance gaming review planned for you this episode. Scheduling issues and the absence of Khonshu's SCEPTRE have made that not possible this time round, so unfortunately we won't have Loony Joey with us. Unfortunately work has gotten in the way there, and of course Khonshu's SCEPTRE going missing. So in an attempt to do a quick change in programming, I will be with you tonight. We've got a couple of things actually. I'll go through very briefly the Moon Knight news as always, our white noise. What I'll be doing, I thought maybe tonight would be a good chance for... Look, I know in our community there are a lot of Moon Knight fans and they love reading the comics. They love playing the game, playing as Moon Knight. There might be a few of you out there with one eye kind of keen on comic book prices and how your Moon Knight collection is faring, with value. So I thought I might just dive into that this episode. I'll go through just broadly the main Moon Knight series, and perhaps later on in a future episode we might go into stuff like hardcovers, trade paperbacks, like one-shots, all the other kind of or cameo appearances by Moon Knight. But I thought maybe tonight would be quite interesting to go through a price guide and to highlight for you loonies out there, anyone who's interested in the prices and how your collection may be doing. Is it an investment that you had hoped it would be? And we'll go through that, and I'll highlight some of the main issues there for you. And if you are still searching to complete your collection, maybe this will be a good guide as to how much coin you're going to have to save in order to get the rest of them. So yeah, we'll go through a pricing guide for Moon Knight. I'm going to have to come up with an inventive title for this episode to do with the dollar and the coin, but there you go. Also, as mentioned in our newsletter, look, we won't have Avatars of Vengeance, no gaming review, but we still will be dropping our latest episode of our ongoing serial adventure, the hunt for the hunt for Khonshu's Golden Sceptre, episode 6. Now, there's been a little bit of time between this episode and episode 5 due to personal reasons and such, but fear not, loonies, it is not going away just yet. We've got a fair few chapters to go through to at least try and wrap up this baby. So episode 6, looking forward to that. And what I'll do after we hear that, I thought I might just give a bit of a recap. Generally there'll be links in the show notes to all the previous parts 1 through to 5, so you can reacquaint yourselves with those and then listen to this one. I'll go through maybe a who's who in the zoo, and our kind of where we see this serial going. Now, I'm hoping all the loonies have been enjoying it. It's certainly a lot of fun to make, and it's certainly a lot of fun to get the loonies involved. But yeah, we'll get to that when we come to it towards the last portion of our show. So, That was one huge long sentence there, loonies. Can't believe that I did that. Anyway, let's get into a bit of white noise. And look, it's very scarce. It's all quiet on the Moon Knight front. But let's, I had a little trawl through the internet as to what would be, in the news most prominently for Moon Knight. Of course, last week we discussed the announcement of Jeremy Slater as the showrunner of Moon Knight. That's big, big news. I can't promise any big news to follow up with that. This week I had a look. There are a lot of, let's face it, a lot of rubbish articles on here and there and everywhere about Moon Knight. The one thing that did keep on popping up, and at first it seemed to have been nothing more than a fantasy or a rumour. Now it seems to have picked up a little bit of momentum, is that Moon Knight may appear in the Phase 5 Blade movie. So this is off the back of, number one, I think it was that Ever So Fantastic site. We got this covered. I think they covered it as well, but look, I'm citing Screen Rant. I'm sure they do a lot of dubious calls as well. But they mention, if I just scroll back up, they mention this was reported in CBR as well. But also, they actually gave a name. I'm just scrolling. Daniel Richtman. Independent reporter. Now, he apparently connected Moon Knight to the Blade movie. Look, we don't know how or where this comes from, other than maybe a wish list. We do know Kevin Feige did say that a lot of the Disney Plus characters, some, if not all, will be also transitioning over to the MCU onto the big screen. So that lends itself to speculating Moon Knight jumping onto the big screen and where he would kind of fit in. And if you do really think about it, it would make sense if he does, appear in the Blade movie out of all the other ones that had been announced anyway. So this seems to be reoccurring. Again, we don't know how true this is, but we'll just have to go wait and see. That's pretty much the only news worth kind of at least mentioning. As I mentioned, it's very slim pickings at the moment, but that one kept on popping up on all these different sites. So I thought I'd just raise that. Obviously, all of us are waiting for some sort of announcement of casting or, a more development of the story or plot for the season. Just what I found interesting, there was another article I read, and they had said, it seems like Moon Knight will be a cross between the Umbrella Academy and The Exorcist, like a bit of a horror slant. Right, I mean, we get it that Jeremy Slater is the showrunner, so you would cite both of his works to maybe influence how he'll tackle the Moon Knight show, but we don't know. It could be something totally different. I mean, the mere fact that there is a difference between Umbrella Academy and The Exorcist could mean that he will do something completely different as well. So, again, we'll just have to wait and see. Okay, loonies, now we are going to go into a bit of a price guide frenzy now. I am going to base my price guides here on the website, thecomicbookrealm.com. So you can go check them out. You can go check out any of your comics. They've got quite a nice database. It's all for free. And so what I'll do is I'll go through the various Moon Knight volumes, and let's see if any of those floppies in your collection, worth a bit of something. So here we go. I'll start off with the 1980 run, the Doug Mensch, Bill Sienkiewicz Volume 1 Moon Knight run. And just opening this bad boy now. Now, there are standouts here. Obviously, on a whole, everything's kind of increased in price. I mean, these books the cover price were 50 cents back in the day. And general rule of thumb, also I should mention as well, all these comics would be in the vicinity of a 9.4 near mint condition, and also under the disclaimer that these prices are only indicative, and what do they say? It's a really good way of putting it. These prices are only as much as someone is willing to pay for them. So, all of that out of the way, it being about a 9.4. With Moon Knight, Volume 1, if we look at their 38 issues, much of them are hovering around, and again, this is all US dollars, around the $4 to $5 mark. Okay, so as I said, the original cover price being 50 cents, they've all kind of risen in price to about $4 to $5 each. Issues to note, of course, ones that have jumped. Obviously, Moon Knight 1. This was a cover date November 1980. That has jumped to $30. So that's, quite a substantial jump from 50 cents. And, of course, that shows the origin of Moon Knight and the first appearance of Bushman and the first appearance of Khonshu. So $30. That is, let me have a quick look. That is the highest, or that is the most expensive issue out of this particular volume. Other ones to note, funnily enough, issue 25, which is the first appearance of Black Spectre. That is $25. So it's, it's kind of up there with issue 1. This was a special double-sized issue. Some of you more recent Looney fans will probably recognise it as it was used as the basis for the lenticular cover, which came out last year. And it's got Moon Knight and Black Spectre on it, on a predominantly black cover. It was retailing cover price of $1 back in the day, so up to $25. That's pretty good. The next one, we jump back up to issue 14. And most prominently, that is the first appearance of Stained Glass Scarlet. Now, that just rose recently. You can speculate and say, why is Stained Glass Scarlet of interest? And look, hey, that could well be something to do with the show. Maybe someone knows something that we don't. There certainly has been rumours that Scarlet Fasanera will be on the TV show. If it does, keep your eyes out and keep your mitts on issue 14. It's currently on $20. Again, as mentioned, 50 cents it started out. This was released at the end of 1981. And that comes in as the third highest issue of this volume. Let me just scroll any further. And that's kind of pretty much it of note. All the others range from $4 to $6. The only other last one is issue 3, and that's $10. Again, cover price 50 cents, and that's the first appearance of Midnight Man. So it seems like a lot of these issues have risen because of first appearances, which is no surprise, and which is no surprise for these particular comic books rising in price. So yeah, so for Volume 1, Issue 1 is the Granddaddy. So let me go on to Volume 2. If I go to Volume 2, which was released in 1985, I know some of you loonies love this. I know other loonies hate this run. It is the Fist of Khonshu. It's a small run. It's 6 issues. So this volume makes a nice, neat little trade paperback. If they ever decide to release it as one, it's not listed here as ever having done so. Again, so this was released mid-1985. Cover price is a little bit more expensive a few years later. It's $1.25 for each comic book. And generally, again, all of these 6 issues have risen in price. All of them, bar issue 1, are up to $3. So, not breaking the bank there. And to note, actually, there are 2 versions of Volume 1. Well, actually, sorry, the ones here in the comic book realm is listed. There is a Canadian edition, which cover price at $1.50, and the standard US edition. So they're at $5. So they're just slightly more. Nothing too hard, and nothing too pricey for you. So not much happening there. Look, this is just to let you know, loonies, this volume is something that I am chasing. It's a bit hard to find where I'm from in Australia, but hoping to grab that soon. I don't want to, actually having seen these prices, I don't want to spend an arm and a leg on it. All right, here we go. Volume 3, Moon Knight. This is released, there's a big jump in time here to 1998, and this is the Resurrection War. So Khonshu and I have covered this series. It's only a 4-parter. It's a mini. Very cool, very good, written by Doug Mensch. And Tommy Lee Edwards does the fantastic art to this. Anyway, you will be sad to know, I guess. This is at a steady $3 each for each of the issues. So cover price originally $2.50. It's gone up a little to $3. So not much is here. I guess the content itself, it doesn't really reveal anything or introduce anything new that would distinguish these issues from anything else. So although it's a very good mini, price-wise, it's very rock steady at $3. Okay, so let me jump on to the next mini, which is considered Volume 4. This was released a year later, 1999. This was High Strangeness, or as erroneously put on the covers, High Strangers. So this was a 4-parter, similar to Resurrection War, similar to it. It retains a $3 value for issues 1, 2, 3, and 4. The thing to note as well, the cover price was at $2.99, so it actually hasn't gone up much, or hasn't gone up at all, really. It's very steady. This should be easy to pick up for any comic book fan that wants to build their Moon Knight collection. So go check it out. Again, in Australia, it's a little bit harder, but in the US, predominantly where our audience is, should be easy enough to find. I know one of our loonies, Noel, has been on a mission to try and find them all for a bargain. He's doing very well. So it can be done over there in the US. These are cover prices. You might even find them in the bargain bins. Again, please note that these prices are based on about the near mint 9.4 condition. Okay, so now we're going to go to, let me just double check. We're going to go to the Charlie Huston David Finch run 2006. So this is Volume 5, and this included 50 issues. Now we're starting to get into some hefty prices. When I say some, not that hefty. Okay, so the highlights for this volume, for anyone who wants to collect it and anyone who wants to know how their collection is going. Issue 1, the regular edition, issue 1, is not much more. So cover price $2.99, $3. And the current value is $4, so it's not that much more, but we are getting into variant territory, and we'll see this in the later volumes. It gets quite pricey. So with this volume, the Huston Finch volume, there are 3 variants to issue 1, and the most expensive to that is variant D, which is the David Finch not for resale, a recommended retail price variant. So where the barcode is at the front of the cover, or where there usually is like an insignia or some sort of logo, it's a not for resale. So this is a very, I guess, quite a rare one. It actually says cover price $0, so I'm not sure where or when this was released. But it has a $0 cover price tag. It is $35. That's the most expensive one, and the next one is $10, which is variant, the David Finch 1 to 25 retailer incentive sketch variant. So that's basically like the front cover, but it's no colour in it. It's just like a sketch with some inks. So that comes in at $10, so that's raised a little bit. Everything else is $3 to $4 before you get to... let me just skip those. I'll come back down. No, they seem to be the most expensive. Then we go to issue 3. And again, the newsstand edition to issue 3 is actually up at $12. The barcode apparently reads Marvel Champions. Retails at $3. It's up at $12. So the regular issue 3 is still $3 as well, so that hasn't gone up, but the newsstand edition is the one to watch. Next, most valuable out of this run, we jump to issue 20. Now again, it's not the regular edition, we are looking at the variant, and it's a Mike Deodato Jr. 1 to 25 sketch variant. So this is one of my favourite issues, issue 20. This is with Jack Russell again, the werewolf by Night, and it's with Moon Knight, a beautiful cover. But this variant cover by Mike Deodato, it's just black and white with the logo of Moon Knight in colour and the Marvel logo in the corner in colour. So that's $10. So not too much more. I mean, I think that's attainable. It started out as $3, so it's jacked up, about 3 times the price. That's okay. And I think that about does it. The only other one of note would be if you jump down to issue 29, the variant to issue 29, that retails at issue 29, that retails at $8. So that is the Juan Doe 1 to 10 Wolverine Art Appreciation variant. So if I look at the standard 29 cover, that was the one I believe Mike Benson wrote. It's got the 2 Mexican wrestling brothers fighting Moon Knight in a wrestling ring, and the Moon Knight logo is in the Mexican national colours. That was the regular cover, but it's the Wolverine Art Appreciation variant, which has gone up a little to $8, so a little bit more there. So surprisingly for me, like I would have thought that a lot more issues here would have been really have really increased in price. Not so. Okay, so we're going to jump from that volume 5. Now, I generally class this as volume 6. It's Vengeance of the Moon Knight. In the comic book realm, it's not given a volume number, but this was released in 2009, directly after the Houston Finch run. 23 issues. Oh well, there are 23 issues. That includes the variants. Let me just open it up now, and again with the variants, we start seeing some pretty juicy prices. So, by the way, as well, again, this for me in Australia, this Vengeance of the Moon Knight is very hard to come by. On eBay, it seems to retail quite expensive. So, cover price across the board is generally about $4. So again, the comic books have gone up a little bit in price. It's up to $4 now. Actually, it's probably better to go the other way. So the only one still, so issues 3, 4, and say 5 and 6 are retailing around the original price. So $4. Issue 6 is $6. It's gone up a little bit. Okay, so if I look at the most expensive again, it's a variant to issue 1, okay, and that is the Lionel Francis Yu 1 to 50 retail incentive sketch variant. So it is the version of the issue 1 cover without the colour, just looks like a sketch, and that retails at $50. So that has jacked up quite a lot. That's a big standout of this series. The other ones to note then, in issue 1, there's a... Looney, you're going to have to help me out here. There's an MRCC, so I'm not sure what comic book convention that is, exclusive retail, recommended retail price variant. That's with the David Finch cover of Moon Knight, just perched on a pipe, it seems, up above with the rain pelting down on him. That's gone up to $25. So cover price for this, so this comic book this Comic Con exclusive is 0, so it must have been a giveaway or something. So it retailed at 0. It's gone up to 25. And apparently there's a second printing of that. Oh no, this is just the second printing of issue 1. Yes, and that has a black and white version of that Moon Knight perched on that pipe in the rain. Retails at $4, up to 25 as well, $25. So that's the second most expensive. If I jump down to the third most expensive of the series, we're going to issue 8. And issue 8 is part 2 of Killed Not Dead. That guest starred Deadpool in there. Now the variant cover to that is what is pricey. That's a Heroic Age variant. The Josh Mador's 1-15 Heroic Age variant. That's gone up to $22. So a nice little price jack there. And look, there are a few. Let me just go through. Sorry. Issue 2. The Francesco Mattina 1-10 zombie variant, that's at $20. That's the next highest. Then we get into issue 1 again, the David Finch 1-20 retailer incentive variant. That's to $18. That's the next highest. And then there are a couple on $15. So actually, the regular edition of issue 7. Again, it's part 1 of the Moon Knight Deadpool story. That's at $15. Issue 9 as well. That's up to $15 as well. That is the special double-sized. It's got Spider-Man on the front cover as well as a Heroic Age tie-in. And the other $15 one is the is issue 1 again. It is the Dynamic Forces exclusive Alex Ross negative variant. Now this was limited to 699 copies, and so again it started off at $4. It's up to 15. So that's pretty good. Look, you probably would have thought it would have been a bit more than that. But anyway, so overall, Vengeance of the Moon Knight, things have gone up a little, but we're starting to see some big prices there. Okay, so what do we got next? 2010. Then we're going to go to it's called Volume 6 here. I might call it Volume 7. This is the Brian Michael Bendis run, 12-issue run with Alex Maleev. So 2011, this came out. Again, cover prices were $3.99, say $4. And all of them have pretty much stayed at $4. The big thing to note is issue 7, the variant, which is the Terry Dodson 1-50 50th anniversary homage variant. It's homage to the Daredevil 1 issue. This has gone up to $35. So this is the prize pony of this Brian Michael Bendis run, $35. The variant to issue 7 is what you want to be looking at. Other than that, there are some variants of issue 1. There are 3 variants, all priced at $12. So that is a Brian Hitch 1-25 retailer incentive variant. This is of issue 1. There's a Humberto Ramos 1-25 retailer incentive. And there's a Mart Texiera 1-25 retail incentive variant. All of issue 1, they're at $12. Now, it should be noted, and I'm quite repetitive with the cover price at $4 because you'll see that later on, some of these variants, the cover price is actually quite high anyway, so it actually hasn't gone up. It's probably maintained its value. But these ones that I've mentioned, the cover price have been the standard of that period, in which case this was a $3.99. Everything else seems to be about $4. Let me see. Apart from those variants to issue 1, we have one other one. A variant to issue 3 is gone up to $7. That's a Colin Wilson 1-20 I Am Captain America variant. Wow, I actually haven't seen that cover for Moon Knight. That's pretty cool. Anyway, $7. Not too much. Hasn't really doubled in price. But, just interesting. Like, I'll be hard-pressed to find that issue in Australia, I'll tell you that. Okay, so that was a Brian Michael Bendis again. So the big one there is the variant to issue 7. What do you want to be looking out for? The Terry Dodson 1-50 homage variant. Alright, we are coming closer now. We're going to go to what many loonies regard as the best, the Warren Ellis Declan Shelvey run. And oh boy, are we getting big prices here. Okay, so again, I'll start off with cover prices about $3.99, $4 say, for each of the issues. Big standout here. Issue 1, we have the Bill Sienkiewicz 1-75 retailer incentive variant. And that most notably shows, in Sienkiewicz's style, Moon Knight upon a throne in what looks like to be an Egyptian backdrop. Sitting on there. That is retailing at $200 smackaroonies. So $200 for that. Started out at $3.99. So if you're lucky enough to have this one, crack out the champagne, or buy yourself some champagne. It's expensive champagne with it. $200. So that's a huge standout there. Let me have a look. And then it drops. The next highest price is again in issue 1. It's $50, and it is the Adi Granov 1-50 retailer incentive variant. And some of you keen followers of the show, as well as big Moon Knight fans, would probably recognise we kind of pinched a bit of that art for our podcast logo back in the day. So that's up to $50, so that's pretty good. So that is the Adi Granov variant. Next in price, that would probably make a mark, is $30, and we're looking at issue 2 variant. This is the Phil Noto 1-50 incentive variant. So yep, that's kind of coming along pretty well. And then after that, look, there's a $15 one. That's a variant issue 3. Ryan Stegman, 1-25 incentive. So that's still retailed at $4, $15 now. And there's an issue 7, a variant, Declan Shelvey, 1-25 incentive. It's gone up to $10 from $4. So, a couple of them have gone up. Most of them are still on 4. Like, I'm looking at issues 10-17, still $4. A couple of 8s in there. Issue 8 and issue 9 variants, they're $8 each. If you want to know them, let me just pull them up for you. Declan Shelvey, I mentioned, that's another Declan Shelvey 1-25. That shows the costumed Moon Knight, the caped Moon Knight on the front cover. Issue 8 and issue 9. Oh, these are cool. So issue 9, it shows a Declan Shelvey 1-25. He's in his bird bone armor. Same pose, same everything, but he's just a different Moon Knight version. So that's gone up to $8 as well. Quick scale, everything else is $4. Yeah. So the big kahuna there is issue 1, the Bill Sienkiewicz incentive variant. It's a big one, 1-75 variant, 200 smackers. Okay, we are edging towards the end here, loonies, and again, if this is useful or if people find this interesting, I'll cover the other sorts of issues like the minis, like the Countdown to Dark, Divided We Fall. Start looking at special editions, cameos like in Shadowland, stuff like that. So that was the Declan Shelvey, Warren Ellis. Okay, now we're going to the next run, which in the comic book realm, it seems they have lumped the Jeff Lemire and the Max Bemis volumes together. So I'll be talking about them as a whole. Okay, so I'm having a quick look here. So technically it's the Jeff Lemire one, 1-14 issue. And let me just break it up. Let's start with Jeff Lemire's run with the awesome Greg Smallwood, who is a friend of the show. We had interviewed him on our episode 100 for anyone who hasn't listened to our episode 100 just yet. I don't know, semi-disappointingly, not much of the Jeff Lemire run has kind of spiked in price. The largest one I can see is issue 1. It's a variant for $30. And again, cover price actually is now $5, $4.99 for some of them. So the cover price for this was $4.99, $5, up to $30. This is a Marco Rudy 1-25 incentive variant. That's the priciest one in the Jeff Lemire run. After $30, there are a few on $20. Let me just go through them. Issue 2, the variant, the Julian Totino Tedesco variant, 1-25. That's Moon Knight in his bed sheets kind of thing. That's $20. Retails at $4, so back to our standard $4. Then we have a variant on issue 3. That's $20 again. That is a Jeffrey Verreg 1-25 incentive variant. Then there's one more on issue 10. There's a Will Spotaccio. I know some of you loonies have seen this before at 1-25. That variant there, again, retails at $4, so up to $20. Then from 20 goes down to 15, the next price, highest prices. And we're looking at issue 10 again. The Tyler Crook 1-25 variant of issue 10, where Moon Knight's upside down. And issue 14, which is the Pascal Ferry 1-25 incentive variant. Oh, I got that one. It's up to $15. Well done, me. There you go. Okay, and then after $15, there's a few on $10. Actually, the issue 1, the regular edition, $10. Started out as $5, doubled in price. The Bazinga variant, Bazinga Comics exclusive, that's gone up to $10. That's issue 1. Shows Moon Knight in his caped form, eluding what looks like to be bullets or explosions and throwing his crescent darts. That's $10. And here's another one, a variant to issue 6, $10. Bob Hall 1-15, classic artist variant. Yeah, that's 10. And then the rest are kind of hovering around the $4, $5 mark. So yeah, that was a bit of a surprise, I thought, as well, for Jeff Lemire. I would have thought there would have been more. If we look at the Max Bemis, our final volume to look through, Max Bemis, here we go. Ooh, we got one big kahuna here, issue 200, which is the final issue. Again, very proud. So the High Priest of Khonshu, Rebecca, Khonshu and myself featured in this comic. Just had to get it in there. Issue 200, it is the Bill Sienkiewicz, surprise, surprise, remastered sketch variant cover. Now, this is a black and white sketch, obviously, sketch variant cover. Most of you will probably note this as the artwork, or at least inspired by the artwork in Volume 1. Let me get this off the top of my head. Issue 5, I think, which was that haunted house / crazy guy with his mum issue. And that's the first one where at the beginning, towards the beginning of the issue, Moon Knight is kind of scaring some youngsters who are daring each other to go to that haunted house. So that is the biggest one. That's $500. Retails at $5. It started off as $5. Released December last year. Yeah, so I'm pretty sure, any LCS that did come across this or qualify for this would have charged more than $5 for it straight away, because it's worth $500 now. The next highest is again a variant to issue 200. It's $250. So this is a color version of that Bill Sienkiewicz remastered cover of that same artwork which I mentioned on top of the haunted house. $250 as well. So Sienkiewicz's art is raking in the Molaro. Okay, so then again, I think we can stay in issue 200 again. Then it drops, but it's still good. $50. the issue, the Kevin Nolan variant cover. Well, that's pretty cool. I think I got that one as well. So that started off as $5. It is it's now up to $50. It's a pretty nice one. Then $50. Then I say a $40. So issue 194. So this was the IGC vintage homage cover by superstar artist John Tyler Christopher. After David Finch. So this was limited to only 600 copies with a serial numbered certificate of authenticity. And I say here that it's $40, and this is, the cover price was $40, so the current value is $40, so it actually hasn't gone up that much, but it is noted here that a CGC 9.8 grade of this copy has sold for about $150. So if you can get them in pristine condition and have it graded, and if it's a 9.8, it can spike up to $150. So yeah, that's pretty good as well. $50, and then we're looking at that was a $40 one. Then there's a couple on $25, which is issue 188. The first issue of Max Bemis, that is the Daniel Warren Johnson 1-25 incentive variant, but again, cover price at $25, and the value is $25, so it actually, hasn't made any sort of rise in price. And issue 200, which did start off at $5, it's gone up to $25. This is the Philip Tan variant cover, which, again, cool, I've got that one. Very nice. $25. So after $25, there is, that's it, really. Then they just range from $4 to $5, which I think maintains their cover price. So there you go, loonies. Those are... I hope they give you some idea. Again, I'm going to put a little disclaimer. These comics and these prices are only as much as, however, how much someone is willing to pay for them. But this is a good indication of which ones have stood out and which ones have garnered a lot of interest in the various volumes. So if you are a collector and you do want to kind of hone in on the important issues, then those are the ones as highlighted. I'll put in the show notes a link to the comic book realm and the Moon Knight section for it, so you can have a look at yourself. It's a very good website. Actually, it gives you a lot of information on all of these issues. So very good indeed. I think some of them actually show you which have risen just recently as well. So there you go, loonies. That is your ramble, your Ray ramble, on a comic book price guide to the Moon Knight volumes for you. Like I said, if you find this interesting, if you want me to cover other appearances of Moon Knight, or other trades or hardcovers and the such, we can look at that as well. But I found it interesting. Just let me look at it. Most notably, I would have thought some of the Jeff Lemire ones would have been more expensive than I thought, and the Warren Ellis, Declan Shelvey. But yeah, very cool indeed. All right, loonies. Well, what we're going to do now, we're going to go to a quick break, have a listen to a couple of our friends, a couple of our fellow collective members, and when we come right back, I'm going to introduce you to our next episode, to our ITK Serial. Catch you then.
The swamp, more than merely a place. It is a churning, seething, bubbling bed of life, of which you are a part. Once you were a man, a chemist named Ted Salas, until one little experiment went somewhat awry, and you changed. The serum that was to have made you a super soldier, combined with the strange forces in the swamp, to make you over into this, a shambling, mindless mockery of your former humanity. the macabre Man-Thing. Man-Thing was created in the early 1970s to capitalize on the growing monster craze, but under writer Steve Gerber it became something quite different. Experimental, surreal, and very, very weird. It was something I loved as a kid, but does it still hold up today, 4 decades after its initial publication? So join me, Paul Matthew Carr, as I attempt to make sense of this cult classic and analyze each issue, putting it in the context of the time it was written and comparing it to the standards of today. And maybe you too can come to love the world's second most famous swamp-based comic book character as much as I do. The Nexus of All Realities, a Man-Thing podcast, a twice-monthly dive into the bizarre.
Hey there! Do you like comic books? Do you like superhero TV and movies? Well, come on over and check out the Capes of Lunatics podcast. We have such shows as Capes of Lunatics and Super Connectivity, where we cover everything new and current and popular in the world of superheroes. And we also have episode-by-episode reviews of the Marvel Netflix shows and a monthly discussion of everything current on the DC Comics character Nightwing, and a few other surprises all the time. So come join us for the Capes and Lunatics podcast.
Yes, welcome back, Looney listeners. You are listening to Into the Night, a Moon Knight podcast, episode 121. And you are with your High Priest of Khonshu Rey. And the absence of Khonshu's sceptre has caused all sorts of flux in our programming. So some of you may have been expecting a review on the Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3 and Moon Knight's playability in it, but unfortunately, due to scheduling and the wacky phases of the moon, we couldn't do that for you this episode, but we will cover it later on, so bear with us. And when we do get, hopefully we can tee up something with Joey or anyone, basically, if anyone who's played Ultimate Alliance who wants to come on the show, let us know. In particular, have played Moon Knight. It'd be interesting to hear how he plays, how he stacks up against the other heroes. But yes, with all that aside, loonies, I know you are salivating at the corners of your mouth for it. Yes, it is back. Yes, you have waited a long time. Yes, we do apologize. We have episode 6 of our ITK Serial Adventure, The Hunt for Khonshu's Golden Sceptre for you. I'm going to let you have a listen to it now, and then I'm going to recap where we are up to with it so far. So, enjoy.
Don't look down. One step at a time. Jeez, it's high up here. Why Scarlet's always on the roof? I mean, Okay. There. Phew. Now let's just see who made it inside this Chilean embassy.
Hello.
Yeah! Noel! What are you doing up here? How come I didn't see or hear you?
Let's just say I roll a little differently than the rest.
What are you? Daredevil?
Nah, but something like that.
Now say it again. What are you doing here? I thought I was mad scanning this building, taking a peek inside.
Word on the street is that Khonshu's golden scepter is missing.
Did you speak to Tommy?
My friend, the streets have many contacts. I have mine, you have yours.
So, what else do you know?
Well, I know the scepter is one of 5 relics, which have been used to prevent Set from entering our world.
Set, as in the, God of Chaos?
Correct. Apart from the scepter, I've been tracking down the others. Osiris's staff has all but been destroyed. Horus's orb and Mahat's blade I've yet to find. And Tas Ankh is in another galaxy. My leads say whoever took the scepter is right here, in this embassy. He, or it, needs to be shut down.
Well, I've come to receive the old scepter too. Without that golden scepter, our podcast is in all sorts of trouble.
It'll be more than just a podcast in trouble if Set makes his way into this world.
Hey, hold up a sec. I can see movement inside. I recognize that person. That's MI's very own secret agent Sterling. What's he doing here?
Well, it looks like he knows his way around the embassy. And he knows of that concealed safe. And its combination. That's Horus's orb.
Knew you can't trust these Brits. They're always typecast baddies, aren't they? We should, Huh? No? No. What do you... Yikes. That no.
You won't retrieve this orb, or prevent the coming of Set.
We'll see about that.
You have no idea what you're dealing with, little man.
Okay. What did I miss?
You're all going to die.
I don't think that's Agent Sterling, or if it is, he's royally fucked.
What the hell?
That's not only a follower of Set, it's one of his agents. That's Sobek, the god of crocodiles.
Set is almost here.
Alright, why am I,
Hold steady, we got this.
All will fall to Set.
Yes, that was episode 6 of The Hunt for Khonshu's Golden Scepter. My gosh, things are ramping up, things are happening, the world, the universe is expanding, and so you just heard there Khonshu trying to track down one of the relics. He found himself at the Chilean embassy, bumped into a new character, Noel there with his ninja-like skills. And they came face to face with one of the first agents of chaos, Sobek, the god of the crocodiles. So it's things are ramping up. We're starting to understand a little bit more on the serial. And after listening to that, Loonies, I thought I'd just give a bit of a quick kind of who's who in the zoo of what's happening. Look, this serial is really just a labour of love. I just love the idea of a serial play or an audio play, obviously kind of heavily influenced after listening to those Stitcher Wolverine Long Night podcasts. Obviously nowhere near that, but it is a lot of fun, and kind of creating our own little ITKU within this podcast. So I just wanted to say that the idea for this was to was to involve as many loonies as we can. Again, as we always say, we love the community. We love, I'm totally happy if loonies would like to just enjoy just like being part of it and like listening to the show. But we absolutely love it when loonies do put their hand up and want to be or contribute to it in some sense. So it's just really really awesome so far. We've got a huge cast of characters, and I wanted to put it out there for any loonies that do want to get involved. Hit us up. I'm more than happy to write you in, like we can actually write you in as yourself. Generally what I do with some of the loonies that have been involved, I like to drop them into this universe but give them a little bit of a twist. So as you saw in that previous episode, Noel, I don't know, maybe in real life he is, but in the ITKU, a little bit of a ninja, a little bit Daredevil-esque, bit of a street fighter, knows his stuff. So yeah, it's a little bit of fun. It was good to kind of come up with little angles with some of the loonies. Some of them I have the pleasure of knowing a bit more, or have knowing them for a bit more, like a little longer. But yeah, look, if you're keen to join, or if you just want a part to say, like, another shout out to a couple of our loonies there, Mohammed, and for Matt Lappy as well. If you just want some roles to just say a few lines, that is absolutely awesome as well. It's a really fun thing to do. It takes a little longer, hence I'm trying to make it monthly, but October was a terrible month for me, so that kind of came and went. But hopefully, every month we can get them out. So this is for November. I've got episodes 7, 8, and 9 already written and lined up with some voice actors, some loonies. So that's a lot of fun. And it's we're hoping to kind of keep it going. It's going to take a while actually to wrap up this serial, the Hunt for Khonshu's Golden Scepter. I'm aiming to, once we do wrap this up, I will re-edit it and stitch it together as one like continuous whole, and I'll drop that in our podcast as a particular, I don't know what it is, maybe a 40-45 minute, maybe an hour long audio serial or audio play. So that's what's on the horizon for that. That's the idea. Actually, I'd maybe getting some of your thoughts. I don't know what else, because it seems such a shame. There's a lot of great contribution and work put into it. So yeah, if you have any ideas of what we could do with it, the final finished audio product, let us know. Always happy to hear. The other thing as well, and I guess the last thing I wanted to mention this episode, you've heard me ramble for nearly an hour now, but so with this, I've been toying with the idea of, with this audio play, once we finish it, however long it is, 22, 24 parts, it being, I don't know, an hour long or whatever, I was thinking of the idea of adapting it into a comic book / graphic novel format, and having it something special. So, again, if you want to be part of it, then I think the end game, and I'd love for it, would be to create, I don't know, I'll have to research it more, maybe through Kickstarter or something, try to get a fund generated to actually make a good stab at this. I would actually just rework the scripts to all these episodes, try to format it into something cohesive for an artist, and then get a graphic novel version. So it would have, like, we all love comics, so why not have a comic book version of this audio play? That is the big ticket item on the horizon. Again, I'm going to throw it out there to you loonies. What do you think? How can we get this off the ground? I'm thinking Kickstarter, or if there are any other ways, I'm very receptive to your ideas. But that is kind of, I guess, one of my main goals for whenever this serial finishes. The goal is then to adapt it into a graphic novel format. So, with that, loonies, I think I'll end my ramble now. I hope, again, like you did enjoy. Thank you for listening. I hope you did enjoy the price guide. And I hope you did enjoy episode 6. Now, of course, as well, one final thing. In less than a week, I will drop episode 6 as its own audio recording. So you can, create a playlist of parts 1 to 6 if you want in your podcast catcher and play them successively. Just makes it a lot more accessible than trying to kind of fast forward to the middle of this episode if you want to re-listen to episode 6. So that will be coming in the next few days as well. But look, I guess the usual kind of wrap up at the end. If you want to get in contact with us to talk about the ITK serial, or to give us feedback about the price guide ramble, you can email us at itkmoonnight@gmail.com. We're on Facebook. We have a page. We have a group. We're on Twitter. We're on Instagram. Just check out the show notes. There are links to us there, as well as whatever you're listening to. We're obviously on that podcast catcher, but we're on all the other big ones as well. Stitcher, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple, Google. We're all there. Ratings, we would absolutely love it if you can give us a rating, whether it's good or if it's critical. I would love to improve the show, so always love to hear from you. Finally, if you do like what you hear, check out the previous episodes as well. They're pretty good too, and just share it. Just share it with a friend or someone that you might think will find it interesting. That's great. We'd love to expand our community. I'm always bubbling with ideas, so I'd love to kind of take this to the next level. And finally, a big shout out to our collective members. You've heard a couple of them through the ads. They're doing great work. A big shout out to Dave Fenn from the Signal of Doom. He recently had a good friend, Natasha. They're doing great work there. He also co-hosts with Connor, not Connor Shu, another Connor who I do a co-host. I do a podcast with, the Last Sons of Krypton Superman podcast. Look, just check out the collective. Again, the link is at the bottom. These guys are great. They're so supportive. They love what they talk about. And it's brilliant. So I've been listening to Adeland Rising just recently. Obviously, good mates over at Capes and Lunatics Sidekicks. They always go off. Inner Demons, you name it. They're the Nexus of All Realities, the Collected Edition, Warlock and Thanos podcast. These guys, we cover it all. You don't need to go anywhere else. Loonies and loonies who like other things as well. Just check us all out. It's all good. That's all I can say. So with all that in mind, thanks once again for listening. And as always, may Khonshu watch over the denizens of the night. See you later.
Moon Knight and affiliated characters, stories and events are properties of Marvel Characters Incorporated. Materials used and discussed within the podcast are intended for critique and review purposes only under the fair dealing concept of the current Copyright Act. The views, information, or opinions expressed during the podcast are solely those of the individuals involved and do not necessarily represent those of the copyright owners.